Ask and ye shall receive. Destiny 2 just got a bombshell of a new blog post listing off not only some major ability changes, but a completely new subclass mechanic and new aspects. This wall of text here explains the new arc mechanic, Bolt Charge. Bolt Charge will function similarly to how ignitions work on solar, only here it will be something we stack up on ourselves rather than stacking a debuff on enemies. This should see Bolt Charge, or rather a Bolt Discharge, be a little more consistent than that of ignitions, since Bolt Charges can stack up exclusive of enemy health. No stacking up Scorch to try for an ignition, only for the enemy to perish and your hard work with it. From what Bungie says here, going from no Bolt Charge to even a single Bolt Charge will require something specific. Unlike Amplify, which can get going just off some generic arc kills, Bolt Charge will need something to kickstart the process. Once you have one or more Bolt Charges, you'll be able to stack the rest of the way to 10 with any weapon damage, not just arc weapons. After you reach 10 stacks, your next ability hit of any flavor will discharge all 10 stacks, causing a Cloud Strike-like lightning strike to the target and surrounding area. Bungie also says that the radius of this effect should be just a bit smaller than an ignition. To top all this off, each stack of Bolt Charge you receive will also net you some melee energy. It's hard to say really anything about that part right now, since we have no idea how much energy will be gained, but after 10 stacks I'd hope for a full or even a half melee. But again, it's totally up in the air. Very quickly before we discuss the new aspects, I'd like to point out that nowhere on this blog post does it specifically state that these new aspects will be on Prismatic. I don't see why they wouldn't, and there are some lines here and there that hint at the idea of these aspects being used on Prismatic, but there's no clear statement one way or the other. I personally believe these will be on Prismatic, and I think it would be a huge blunder on Bungie's part to not include them on the Prismatic kits, but regardless, I thought I'd mention that there's nothing concrete here. First up, Hunters. You're getting the Void aspect on the Prowl. While you have this aspect on, going invisible from any source will mark a nearby enemy for both you and your team. Defeating this enemy will cause them to drop a free smoke bomb, which will make you and your teammates invisible. It will also give everyone a buff to reload speed and stability, as well as what Bungie calls, quote, a small chunk of melee, grenade, and class ability energy. This sounds pretty sweet, and frankly, really fun. Void Hunter has always been missing out on some team support capabilities besides making everyone invisible for, like 2 seconds. So this will not only support the team, but should passively help everyone focus down targets, which will be pretty interesting. This should also work really well for things like Gear Falcon, or hopefully Spirit of Gear Falcon. I also suspect the smoke bomb the targeted enemy will drop may also be boosted by Khepri Sting, giving that smoke bomb more damage. I know you hunters out there might be a little bit upset seeing that your new aspect isn't on arc to go along with the new Bolt Charge, but stick around, there are some impressive changes you all are going to like when we get to some existing ability changes. We're not quite there yet though, as next up we have our new Titan aspect, Storm's Keep. This is a barricade boosting aspect that is all about the new Bolt Charges. Firstly, when you use your class ability, barricade or otherwise, you gain Bolt Charge. Secondly, exclusive to the barricade, you and any allies behind the barricade will passively generate Bolt Charge, which will then expend from weapon damage, again while behind the barricade. So far this is the only way we know of to send off your Bolt Charge through weapon damage. Normally Bolt Charge is only expended from ability damage while at 10 stacks, but here you'll be able to live out your trench warfare fantasy by sticking behind the barricade. Of course, as a Titan main, this aspect is the one I'm most excited to try. My first thought is potentially a sweet business with Actium War Rig setup, though there's a lot of variables that remain to be seen, like how fast you get Bolt Charge from both the barricade and weapon damage. Regardless, this will be a really good aspect for team play, allowing the entire team to not only gain free Bolt Charge, but also expend it from a safe distance. I suspect this plus Falling Star will equal primo boss damage. Last but in no way least, we have Warlocks. You all are receiving the arc aspect, Ionic Sentry. Scoring arc ability and weapon kills will charge up your sentry, which will then allow you to fire this Tesla ball that will blind on arrival, then stick around and fire lightning that will chain to enemies, giving you Bolt Charge with each defeat. Now, Bungie compares this aspect to Gunpowder Gamble for Hunters, or the Dynamite. The dynamite works in a really fun way where as you get solar kills it will charge up, then once it's charged it stacks a dynamite on top of your grenade key. The best part is though that this dynamite does not replace your grenade, it's stacked on top of it, so once you throw the dynamite your grenade remains intact, allowing you to throw that as well. It's a free grenade, basically, and if this Warlock aspect works like that, this is not only going to be a blast to use, but it's going to be incredibly powerful. Of course, the Arc Warlock is pretty powerful as it is, and sacrificing your Arc Souls or Ionic Traces doesn't sound great. That is until you remember that Getaway Artist exists. This could allow you to have the Sentry, the Arc Soul, and Ionic Traces all together. I'm very excited for these aspects and bolt charges and the effects they will have on the Destiny build crafting scene. But beyond the new shiny toys, there's also some really impressive changes to existing abilities that I'd like to quickly mention. Let's talk about the Hunters first. On Arc, Tempest Strike will now give bolt charge and deals 57% more damage in PvE. Disorienting Blow now gives bolt charge, deals damage in an area, and now blinds in a much larger radius. Arc Staff will also give bolt charges when blocking attacks. Blight Ranger, please be good now. Ascension now has 3 fragment slots on Arc, and will now activate Gambler's Dodge, Marksman's Dodge, Empowering Dodge, and Threaded Spectre. Ensnaring Slam will now activate Gambler's Dodge, Marksman's Dodge, and Threaded Spectre. Threaded Spectre also has increased PvE damage resistance. For the Titans, the Barricade will now give additional splash damage resist while behind the barricade, and the Taunt now no longer fades over time, which I didn't even know was a thing. For Arc specifically, Jug Shield gives splash resist, regular resist, and gives bolt charge when blocking damage. Ballistic Slam now activates quicker, deals more damage, deals even more damage based on how far you slam from, and gives bolt charge per enemy hit. I love Ballistic Slam, so this makes me very happy. For Void, Unbreakable is getting yet another massive buff. Increased damage absorption rate, increased max damage, increased shield health, increased Void overshield generation rate, and it only costs half of your grenade instead of a full grenade charge. It also makes less orbs with Sentinel Shield equipped. A small price to pay, really. Also, Bubble now fires a weakening pulse when deployed. That's cool, I guess. Finally, on Solar, Consecration will deal less damage with both waves, but ignition damage is untouched. For now. But they do mention that the ignition damage is being looked at very carefully, so that's probably next. Finally, for the Warlocks, both Arc Supers are getting a damage buff. Lightning Surge will no longer give Amplify, instead giving Bolt Charge for each enemy hit, along with dealing more damage. And on Void, Handheld Supernova, which is the charged magnetic grenade, is getting the works, with 4 more projectiles and a wider and taller blast radius. This should be really fun now. And finally, we have some more generalistic changes. Radiant will now only give 20% damage instead of 25%, although, well, will still give 25%. Frost Armor will offer much more damage resist per stack. Being amplified will give you a small damage resist and make enemies less accurate towards you, kinda like Manticore. Finally, there are some fragment changes to both Arc and Prismatic to account for the new bolt charges. And that's it for this blog post. Some really exciting changes, and it looks like Bungie might be pulling their punches a little less. It's nice to see some bigger numbers for a change, both in terms of buffs and nerfs. 15% damage increase for pulse rifles is cool, but 57% increased Tempest Strike damage? That's much more interesting. I'm already scheming away with the new aspects, trying to figure out what I want to try first and with what. But I'm only one guy, and I'm sure you all have your own light bulbs firing off right about now, so why not share down in the comments? Let's talk about these changes down below. What are you excited to try, and what do you think will be the strongest new change? Let me know down in the comments. Until next time.